Last week's session on slides prompted a few emails asking to have more details on other expressive techniques, and so today I thought, why not do vibratos, which are probably the expressive tool for the guitarist. And it's also a bit simpler than bends, which we'll do soon enough, because it doesn't require such a wide range of pitch, and also at the same time it doesn't require that much precision, because we're not really shooting or aiming at for a defined note. We're just actually kind of wobbling the note a bit up and down and see what happens. Now we're going to try to be a bit more scientific than that, and the first step is actually to figure out how to do it physically. So bendings actually do require you to use the hand as a pivot point, and then just use the wrist to pull the string up. Now with the vibratos, you don't really need that much strength, so you can actually do it from your regular playing position, which would be kind of like this, and you can do it just with the strength of the finger. Now for wider vibratos, you can actually just grab the neck as if it were a bend. Feel free to do it any way you want. Don't forget that the first technique we're going to use today for vibratos is the classic one. So we're just going to take the string E and then move it up. Now keep in mind that if you go downwards, you are achieving exactly the same effect, because you can't, unless you're using a whammy bar, you cannot pull the note down. Okay, so with this in mind, just play with the metronome, put it on at 60 more or less, okay, about this speed, and do one cycle per beat. So, and then try to do 2, and then 3, and then 4, right? And this is very important actually. When people have poor vibratos, is usually because either they go too far, and so it kind of enters into the world of bends, but it's an out of tune bend, which is the worst, and also because the timing is sloppy, so it doesn't really fit in. And so do it like this. Always practice your techniques with a metronome. Now this technique you can actually do it with a slight variation, which is go up, go back to the note, alright, and then pull down on the string. The effect is kind of the same, but it's a bit more loose, if you want to call it that way. One more piece of advice: if when you're doing the vibrato, make sure you're vibrating on the exact pitch that you need. So if you're in E and you pull the string up, make sure you go back to E before you start the next cycle. Otherwise you just shift the point of vibrato, and then will not be in tune anymore. So you'll be doing vibrato on an E something, and that will really sound awful when you're playing on top of chords or with other people. So make sure your vibrato starts, in this case on an E, goes up to E something, but then goes back down to E before you go back up for your next cycle. Alright, that's really important. The second technique, and the last one for this session, will be the horizontal vibrato. The horizontal vibrato is borrowed from classical players, violinists, violists, right? Because they don't have any frets, and so if you have no frets and you move from here to here, you'll hear a definite change of pitch. Okay, we don't hear it because the frets kind of limit. I mean, our fretboard is actually broken down into discrete notes, and if you move from one fret to the next, then your note will change. Still, you can kind of get the same effect just by doing what they do. So we just put the finger on the fret and just move it down and up, right, like this. I'm sorry, let's do it in E like before. Okay, so again, you do a cycle per beat. 2, 3, 4. Okay, so technically, actually here you can actually lower the note just a little tiny bit, and that's what makes the vibrato have this effect. Alright, so this is it for this week's session. Next week we're going to discuss circular vibrato and use the whammy bar to do vibratos, and that's actually the only way on the guitar that you can use lower pitches than the notes you're fretting. And then we'll see that next week. So keep practicing. If you are an advanced guitar player, or maybe intermediate, this video were old news for you, but maybe you didn't know how to practice with a metronome, so try to figure out what's useful to you. And next week, actually, those techniques are a bit more advanced, so hopefully they'll be of interest to more guitar players. Alright, so I'll see you next week. Thanks.